Okay.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. My name is Susanne and I came here today from Berlin, which is actually pretty close, I realized. I only went to Warsaw before and now today for the first time get to know this beautiful place and the restaurants around here, and Netguru, who we work with together with Babbel. So after this slightly philosophical presentation, I almost feel like this is a sales pitch, but it's not. I'm on the verbal version, giving you the honest version. Although I know this is recorded, and so German directness is also sometimes a bit dangerous for me. I'm going to introduce a bit our company Babbel, and what we learned about disruption and what we're doing about it now. So we were founded 10 years ago by 4 founders in Berlin. Actually, can I get a show of hands? Who has used Babbel before? Not so many. Okay, so it's not a bad idea to show what we do. We are a language learning provider, software provider. Actually, we have a web product and apps to study 14 learning languages from seven reference languages. Unfortunately, Polish is not yet one of them, but maybe in the future. So one can learn, for example, Polish from German, but not the other way around. So tricky. The founders actually started doing this after they had sold another DJ software. So they were sitting there thinking what they could do next. And one of them wanted to study Spanish and they realized there is no product for that he liked. So they started it themselves. It's not that they decided to disrupt an industry, but it's more like we have a problem, there is no solution. Let's find a solution in a hacky way. And I don't know if they ever expected this to be a company of 500 people 10 years later. Most of the people are located in Berlin. Only one external office is in New York, and we try to only have 6 hours of time difference, which is already a bit better.
That's a huge advantage.
Yeah. So the rest is done locally, and I think it's good. Even our Brazilian marketing is done in Berlin. One of the interesting things that the founders did is first they thought, let's just put material from publishing houses online and give them to the people to study. And they realized, no, it doesn't work. We need to build our own content for the web. It doesn't work. And so they started having an own didactics team, which is now the core of our company. And I'm going to show you some examples later. And the other part is, and I think it's one of the really good decisions that they started a subscription model, which works really well. People pay like Netflix or Spotify 10 euros per month or 60 a year. And they have a bad conscience if they cancel because it's an education product. So they think, and they always say, I canceled because of me, not because of the product. That is good for our industry. Another nice thing for me, I joined 1.5 years ago, is it's a really nice product to work with, helping the world connect and people to speak to each other is nice as a nice vision. Empowering people to express themselves is something we want. But it's also nice when we work with partners, with media. Of course, they prefer this type of advertising or this type of whatever integration to any other products that are maybe, I don't know, dodgy or only shoes, or I don't know who is in this room, so sorry, need to be careful. So as I said, 500 people, over 40 nationalities. Actually, this is great, but it's also horrible because yes, you need a framework for working together, and if you are the German, then you have some other standards sometimes than others. But one of our values, we also have values, is diversity makes us stronger, and it's really tricky to balance this, for me at least, to accept that someone brings in a different point of view, but and appreciate the thought, but also to move on in some way. So it is always a trade-off in that sense. There is no black and white. We tap into 3 mega trends that I think you are familiar with. Maybe a little interesting detail. Most of our learners study for self-improvement, So it's like this generation that is like 40s, 50s, 60s in Germany at least, and thinks they want to learn something else. They have time, maybe also they want to travel, but not necessarily. They also just do it to improve. And so this is why, one of the reasons why in January is our biggest sales period. People, apart from being bored and having time, they also have those resolutions, and so that's why that's the biggest time for us. The other part, which is also interesting, I think, connecting to the disruption point and theme of this day today, is, of course, with more devices being available to people, we don't really disrupt a market, okay, maybe the offline market, but we also open up a new market with our offer, because people who have never thought of learning a language now see how simple it is to just download the app and start for free. So it's not our main purpose to disrupt, it's our purpose to help people learn languages and express themselves and communicate and have their friendships all around the world, as every one of us, I guess, has. With that, we have now more than 1 million, actually widely more than 1 million paying subscribers. This is the last number we published. And of course, many not paying subscribers, because always one lesson per course is free. Again, as I said earlier, some stats, mostly self-improvement, then also a bit of career learning, friends and family, especially in the US, where there is more of a mixed population, and for travel. And this doesn't add up, as you might have noticed, so there are many other motivations around there, but those are some big ones. Now, I don't know how you learned languages, but I did at school, and I had those books with the verbs and all the endings, and if any one of you learned German, you know that there are many endings, and then there are all those exceptions. So it's really tedious if you learn a language like that. And this is maybe a bit disruptive. We think it's all about conversations, and we teach people languages in the way that they need the language. So teaching them the situations they will need and the sentences that they will need. And there has been a study just recently last year where a university did a test, a comparison of different apps, how they work, and actually with 20 minutes a day for 1.5 months, I think it's 5 hours if I'm not wrong, you can, with Babbel, you can learn as much as you would have learned in one college semester. So it really works, and this was the fastest of all apps. Of course, we also know that only learning with an app will not be sufficient. You always need to speak with people of that language, so this is what comes later, we add this. So one of our claims is to envision this moment when someone speaks for the first time to say something maybe personal, and I picked something from our courses, and yesterday I had to go through all of our Polish courses. Don't know if you can read this, but I will let you cherish this yourself. So real life situations, about love, about anything else, German courses on how to separate the trash, so also a bit stereotypical, and actually this is what our didactics team is here for. This is what those people are doing all day long. There is another company out there, you might have seen them, Duolingo. They do artificial intelligence. You learn the cow drinks cappuccino. This is maybe fun for marketing, but not always so useful. So this is the main difference. And of course, we use tech to create those courses because we can see the data. We can see whether users drop off. But then there are still humans doing the concepts for it and creating the new stuff. We create all the language combinations differently. So for example, I don't know about Polish, but if a Spanish and an Italian person or if a German person learns Spanish or Italian, they might need the same grammatical structures for both languages, but the Italian doesn't need that for Spanish because they already know this from their mother tongue. So that's why then some stuff can go away. That also makes our courses a bit more efficient. We have a wide variety of tools, and people can pick the classes that they want to choose depending on the topic. So there are some progressive courses, but mostly people can pick. This is also something that's not black and white. We also noticed maybe we should include some sort of paths so that we can say 6 weeks or 8 weeks and you will be able to speak this. Maybe too much freedom is also not good. I always have to look at you, not at you. So this is something we are working on right now. I'm very surprised that Babbel is not more known here. In the neighbor country, it's 71% of people know us, but we are worldwide. So now comes the expression part and the trial and error part. So Babbel has been very focused on just one product, this app that I just showed you, for the last 9.5 years. And actually there has been an attempt to recreate this entire thing, and it was a fail. We know that, and we had many people leaving because of that. So we thought about, okay, what do we do next? So just replacing the old thing and just starting from scratch, this was too much. Let's re-strategize. And so now we have a strategy where we say, okay, we want to sell stuff to our existing customers, new products, like I just said, the speaking part, so maybe virtual tutoring, and we will sell the existing product to new customers. So we give a framework and strategy, and within that people can be free, but there is now a direction. So after that learning of trying everything anew. And during this difficult product time in the last 2 years, the marketing team got even more creative because we didn't have new product releases, so we needed other stuff. And so I found it pretty cool. This is one colleague who's in the German team, and she just had fun teaching German in 60 seconds. And if you can read it, she got like 1.8 million views on her video. And this was filmed in the Babbel office, just like between meetings, I guess. And of course, with a bit of tech, but it's also not from Hollywood. And it turned out it works, and now we are incorporating it. And this can be part of a product feature in the future. So this was just one example where we experimented, and it seemed to work. Many other things didn't. Another thing is our content marketing, and many of the company presentations we give are about that, because so many people wonder how we can make this a profitable channel. So this is our magazine, as you can see at the top. And we have content every week released, as some people have a blog and think they do it for SEO purposes. But we do this really because users find it interesting. Those are articles that are not necessarily on Babbel specifically, but people see it. Sometimes the headlines are a bit clickbaity, they are on those newspaper websites, but then they come on the page, and on the right you see the conversion elements, and then we have a pretty good conversion, and this is how this channel pays off. Another good example. Now, another one, and I don't know if you've seen this, is a marketing partnership we did with Narcos. And I don't have the screenshot from the course, but what we did is we created a course together with Narcos. And so you can learn plata o plomo with the original Pablo Escobar voice. And obviously it got a lot of buzz, and also won 2 Cannes Lions. But also this is not black and white. We also learned a lot about partnerships, and we learned that you can do a lot of effort for little outcome sometimes. And you really need to think what you do. And yes, of course, this was nice in terms of PR, but would we have built a new product for that? I don't know, maybe we would have gotten it easier. And so, yes, we did our lessons learned internally. We had sessions about it. This was also shared. And so we will do more of this in the future, but in a very conscious way. Then I said some stuff we are also currently trying. This is now, again, new product, but it's not trying to reinvent the old product, but just adding new stuff, as virtual tutoring, where you speak with a real teacher, and certificates. Many people ask us for it, and Germans love certificates. And since Germany is still our biggest market, we thought we can get a lot of growth from there soon, so that's why we have this also. So now we have those, not only one product anymore, but those packages, so this is what it looks like. And now the last example I want to give you, and actually it's my personal example, and this is also the connection to Netguru. I started, as I said, at Babbel 1.5 years ago, being in charge for the marketing of the Central European region. So just spending lots of money on TV and everywhere else, and trying to grow, and making sure this happens in an efficient way, having some partnerships, giving the strategy to the team. I will buy your book also. And developing the market. And in this context, I got a lot of requests from companies that said our team members, they don't want to use the offline classes, or they don't want to use other providers. Can they please use Babbel? And since we only have subscription, they would have had to manage hundreds of subscriptions in their company. And so we couldn't offer it to them. And I was a bit sad to see that, and decided to just find a hacky way. This is a Shopify shop to sell Babbel access codes, like vouchers, to companies. And we tried it, and this year already we have 6-digit revenue on this, so just with inbound requests. And so now, next week, I hope to be able to convince our board that we need some investment and get some proper growth here. So this is one example of where we did stuff under the radar in a bit, where people put in some extra effort for fun and for the learning. At least I did it. And now I'm going to move out of my marketing job and, like it's 90% sure, do the B2B job, doing something totally different, taking care of the corporate customers worldwide. And this is where we also work with Netguru. And it's super nice for me to meet the team for the first time today, actually. So we will have a portal for the back end where then the organizations can log in and can see, can invite their employees, can see some summaries on how much was studied. We didn't need this kind of stuff before on the B2C side. And so we were developing this today together a bit further. And with that, I end my presentation. Of course, I have a nice Babbel slide also. If you want to test Babbel, because apparently so many didn't know it, feel free to message me and we will send you some test codes for free. And thank you very much for having me.
It was cool, thanks. So, do you have any questions to Susanne?
And sorry for this side, I will now appear here.
So my question is that you have been working on the old application and then you decided to move on into a new version, but that didn't work. And what actually happened with this gap between old version and new version? Did you go out of the market? How did you tackle this?
So what you see is still the old version. We put in some beautifying slides, designs on it, but it still works. It's just, and I'm not a coder, so maybe also Daniel, you can help me with that as a project manager. Like, there is this issue between like starting something and building legacy code for 10 years, and then when you want to touch it, you are afraid that something else breaks. Or doing it properly, and I think they wanted to do it properly, anew, and that's what was too much: new language, new everything. And so now we still have the old one, and we just need to slowly fix that now and decouple some things, as I learned the terms for that. It is still working. We just need to create some APIs so that other things can communicate with it. It's maybe a bit slower process now.
But didn't work because of the inability to translate to a new technology? Is it technology side issue or?
I think it's a mix of many things, and I'm not so deep in the things that I could tell you exactly. And probably since this is recorded, I also shouldn't. But it is a mix of many things together. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
So my question is, Susanne, you said that you are not in Poland yet, but maybe in the future, you said that. And I was wondering, how do you decide on what market you would like to, which market you would like to enter, what data do you use, how do you gather it, and on what basis do you make this decision?
That's a good question, because like we have now 14 languages, and it was pretty obvious for the factors, I guess you can imagine too. How big is the country? How much is the global flexibility? How much money do these countries or these people in those countries have? And then the tail got longer and smaller. And this is one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it is the language itself, obviously, because, of course, with the refugee crisis, we were asked to provide Arabic German or Arabic other languages. And it's just very difficult to build that. Same goes with Chinese, and there we have like just also business risks, where it's a market where we are just a bit afraid of right now to tackle, but it's also in consideration. So those are the three things, and the fourth is obviously opportunity cost, because as I showed you earlier, like with certificates, selling certificates to Germans might be a better business idea than finding those global Polish people who want to study the other languages. But one other product actually, and we discussed it today over lunch, is monolingual, but this is something we could also look into, and I just brought it back to the attention today. Just study English at least, just from English to English, because many people can speak some English and then they can do the rest in that language. So this could maybe help us solve the long tail.
Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else? Here, can you shout?
Yes, I have a question. Was it difficult to make a partnership deal with Netflix and what wrong?
Actually, thankfully they came to us. So, sorry?
Was it irresistible offer?
Well, of course, it's for us, and we were very much under the radar before. I didn't even know it's a German company before I joined, quite honestly. It is an honor that big brands know us and recognize us. So of course we were pleased that they came. And maybe this is also why we put in such a huge task force for it. Yeah, so it was an irresistible offer, yes. But there was no money there. So it was really just brand, reach, press versus product. And interestingly, it came, I think, through our Italian market. So not even through the headquarter, but just someone had this idea, I think, with a colleague of mine over dinner, and then it came in. So yeah, sometimes those personal connections help. Another one? Yeah.
How did your partnership with Netguru come about?
I asked the same question today. Because our COO started it and he has a Polish wife, but apparently this is not the reason. So yeah, no, I think it was, again, personal connections. And I know they got to know each other 6 years ago, way before our COO started working at Babbel. So this was a previous contact, they got along well, and then we needed someone fast, and here's Netguru. So that's how it goes. Yes?
Why is it so hard to get to the Asian market? Because we are left in Europe, but for the Chinese or Japanese market, is it more like a technical issue in translating the European languages to the Asian languages, or more about the markets and business?
It's both sides. One is the languages, just you have different letters. So the science, we just don't have this. If anyone here, I assume, is tech persons, you maybe have a solution. I don't, and Babbel also doesn't have an easy one, at least. So this is the one part, and it would just also be a huge investment to do it. And the other part is, I also hope no Chinese official watches me here, but to my knowledge, it's also risky and difficult, and there are protections in the Chinese market. You need to have a partner company that needs to own, I don't know, 51% of your shares or whatsoever for the subsidiary. So it's just also a tricky one. And I need to add, we launched the US market only 2 years ago, and it is a huge risk and investment for us already. So that's why we held off those markets yet. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know about time, but last question? Anyone? Well, in that case, even faster. Thank you very much.